Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I have a continuation for you. I've done some more cards with the laser cut paper and the Perennial Essence Designer Series paper, and I've done note cards and tags, and I thought I would share that with you today. So let's just get started. Okay, so what I have here is a piece of that cut apart paper that is in with the Perennial Essence. Last time what we did is we used the full sheet of this paper and glued it to the back of a full sheet of Perennial Essence paper, and then cut that into 4 by 6 or 4 by 5 1/4 inch strips here to make some cards. And so those were some of these cards, and I used some of the die cuts to create some borders, and some I did with different kind of borders and different colors. You'll recall what that is, and I'll link below that video in case you didn't get a chance to see that one, to see what this is kind of like. So that one is using this paper. So this video I thought would be good using this paper. And the one thing I want to do is show you how to cut this paper to get the maximum use out of it. So I'm going to bring my trimmer forward here. Okay. So I'm going to turn my trimmer this way because I think that puts it completely in the shot. So the very first thing I'm going to do is cut this little section off here. And that's so that I can release these papers, and you can see if I try to cut across here, it creates a problem. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to turn it so that I can see exactly where I'm placing it. And you can get a pretty good idea here how far you need to cut this on this side based on the border on these two sides here. That border and that border are the same, and you can see that it gives you that border all the way down. Now this gives us a clue here because this side starts with that kind of border. So what we're going to do is put that in the cutting channel here, and I'm not going to take anything off of this side. I'm just going to cut these loose, but then I'm going to cut that all the way down, and it's going to give us a good border all the way down the paper. So I'm being very careful where I'm putting that in the cutting channel, and down here it is about halfway between those two pattern papers. So let's see here. Going to set that up. I'm going to close this door, and I am going to move my trimmer blade down here and cut along there. And what you're going to see is that what I've done is cut and release this. Now I am off by just a hair, and I'll show you here. You see how I've got these two little bits here? That means I'm off by that much. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim off and even that out. And then I'm going to do that same thing all the way across this sheet, and I'm going to put this in my paper trimmer so that I cut this border between these two pieces right in half. And there you can see now I've got a nice even border all the way around that one. And I'm going to continue to do that down here, aiming to get that same size border for each of these little squares. And there we go. So now I've got 4 equally sized squares with some of this pretty laser cut on it, and I'm going to set that aside. Then I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to cut off this piece here, and I am going to take again my snips and cut right along this edge. And you can see I lost one of my pieces here. It slid right off. Okay, so now I have my 2 pieces of trim ready to go as well. So I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to take a little piece of this tissue paper that comes with this, because now I have extras because I've used a couple of the sheets. And I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to cut some squares just like I did here. I think these squares end up being 3 inches by 3 inches. So I'm going to cut a little bit of this tissue paper at right about 3 inches, and then cut these pieces here 3 inches as well. Okay, and I'm going to use these to separate these little pieces so that they don't get damaged. You can see some of them start to turn up their toes almost immediately if they're not like this one is got rim around it all the way, so it won't be a problem. This one is the same, but I'm going to put the pieces in between them just to keep them pretty secure so they don't get tangled with one another. Okay, so I've got that one, and I'm going to take this one on the back since there's nothing behind it, and well, or maybe not, I'll just leave it like that. And then on these pieces here, I'm going to take that same piece of paper and I'm going to cut a couple of strips here, and I'm going to use that to store these pieces as well. It's just being particularly cautious about not letting these pieces get too far afield as far as the trim is concerned. And on these, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to trim one more piece here, and I'm going to put that on top of these strips here. So I'm going to get all of my pieces together here with my tissue paper to keep them from getting damaged. I'm going to fold these pieces in half. And then I found that what I could do is take these pieces like this, and I just put a paper clip on it. Next, I want to tackle the remaining cut aparts here. And the simplest thing to do on this is to cut right down the center of this piece here, and that puts this at 4 inches. So if I line this up at 4 inches here, I should be able to cut this up here and end up with a pretty good margin on these pieces. And then it's a matter of just trimming these apart, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the similar border to what I've got going around that one now. And so now I've got all of these pieces, and I'm going to do that same thing here. I am going to put some tissue paper here between these by cutting these, and let's see, I think these are also 4 inches, yes. So I'm going to cut at 4 inches, and I'm going to store this one like this, and I'm going to fold this piece up And then I'm going to put this piece on top of it. And then I'm going to cut this one at 4 inches again. And then these pieces are a little bit smaller. So again, I'm going to cut this here so that my margins are the same. That one is right at 3.5 inches. So these are probably all right at 3.5 inches. That looks to be about right. Let me get that set square. And there we go. So now I have these pieces here that I can put together. Now this one can go on the back here, and then I can add these to this and put another paper clip to hold all of them together. And there I've got those, so I can store those in an envelope and have them ready to go when I get ready to do something with them. Now, what I'm going to do is show you sort of what I've been doing with these now that I've got them cut. So we saw the ones that I did there, and I've been using more of the Perennial Essence paper. I've used some of this beautiful paper, and I created this note card. Isn't that just gorgeous? And what I did was I cut the designer series paper a little bit bigger than my panel, and you can always cut this down a bit if you want more of that designer series paper to show on the back side. And then I mounted it on a piece of purple posy, and there's just a tiny bit of purple posy showing on the top and the bottom. And then on the inside, I took 2 strips of the paper and just set it on either side to bring the outside inside. So that is one of the note cards that I made. Then this piece, I used some of the same designer series paper that we were using on the other project, which, and I don't have a lot of this left now, which is this beautiful paper here. And on the back side, the solid pink, or the almost solid pink. And I did the same kind of thing there. I cut, this panel is a little bit smaller, so I framed a couple of the flowers in the designer series paper just where I wanted it. And then I put Pretty Peacock on the back of it, and then put it on a very vanilla card base. And on the inside, I put some Pretty Peacock, and I just used the largest of the oval dies and cut out a place where you could write in a sentiment. So that one is card number 2 that I did that way. Then I took this one, which used this beautiful paper. And you know, it almost doesn't matter what you put on this paper, it's just so pretty. And so on this one, I have done just like I did on the big paper, put this on my silicone mat upside down and used my tape runner to go along and put some glue all along this, and then put it down on a piece of this paper that was cut just a little bit short, mounted it on a very vanilla panel, and on the inside, this is what I did with that trim. I cut a little strip along here, and then I put this trim right over the top of it, and that way you have some of the laser cut detail on the inside as well as the outside. This is another of the larger pieces, and again I used this same paper, and this one I cut the paper again just a little bit larger so that I could get that, looks like I've got double frames around this, and I'm just tickled with the way that this one came out. And these are note cards. I thought this would make a lovely set of note cards. I have a bunch of them now between these and the ones that I've done here to make up several note card sets. Again, I'm looking towards Christmas and either putting them in a shop to sell them that way, or if I do a craft fair, I would do that, or I would just make up these little cards as gifts. So, and on this one, I just cut a strip of this paper along here, and it's pretty plain, but I think that's plenty decoration because you could open this note card either way, and it frames the inside. So that one is the fourth card that I made. Then this is the last of the larger pieces that came out of that cut apart piece. And again, I used this paper here. Let me get a bigger piece of that so you can see this one. And I used some of the larger flowers as though this were growing on the edge of a pond where those flowers were floating. And again, I used the purple posy on this, and I didn't put anything on the inside, but I've been thinking about putting some of this paper on the inside of this just along the bottom and maybe cutting it out so I got all of those flowers there to show. So that is this one. Then I took the smaller pieces. This is one of those 3 by 3 inch square pieces, and what I did was I backed it with a piece of this paper and I put it on my card and then put another strip of that down and a little bit of that trim there to pick up the laser cut detail. So there's that one. Then this one, and this one I did on this lighter paper, and I put some of the purple posy and then the Highland Heather behind it just to offset it and make it a little bit different. And this one could open either this way or this way. And then I put all the 2 pieces of purple cardstock here and then added this piece of the designer series paper along the edge there. So there's that one. Let's see, I think, trying to think if that's it. Yes, because then I started doing something else with them. I cut from some 5.5 inch, half a sheet of Very Vanilla. I cut off 4 2-inch strips, and then using my tag toppers here, I did 2 with this newest of our tag toppers, and then cut these off. What did I cut them off? I think at 5 inches. Yeah, at 5 inches. And then I did 2 with this older tag top punch that we have. And that is what I put down here. And then I started making tags with them. This was a little piece of paper that I had left over that was already glued down. So I just put it on one of these. I put my to from on the back. I used some of our ribbon here that is the Pretty Peacock ribbon. I put a little glue dot under here, and then I put a piece of this twine, and this twine is a little thick. I think I might go to a smaller twine so that somebody could tie this onto their package and still have the pretty tag there. Then I used to from Botanical Bliss, because I thought I liked the font of that one. And then I put a little strip of paper and another piece of that cut apart down there. And I think it makes a lovely little tag. So then I went on and did this one out of that same paper. And I made these 2 tags. It was interesting. My son was here from out of town and they were going to a wedding, and of course he came prepared with no card, so he was digging through my stash to find congratulations on your wedding card. And then he said, Mom, do you have some tags for the gift? And I didn't. I don't make tags often. And I thought, that is silly. I have so many little pieces of card left over, or little pieces of designer series paper. What a shame to waste them. So these are the 4 that I did using this lovely paper. and I used all of the paper that is this kind, but you certainly could use any of the papers that are in here, and you can make some absolutely lovely tags. So these are cut 2 inches wide so that they would go into the tag topper, and then I cut some of the designer series paper here 1 7/8 inch, and I thought I would continue to work on these tags, and I'll show you a couple of the others that I made. And if I were to cut this off, I'd probably cut it at about 4 inches. Let me just do that off screen here. Cut this little piece of paper down to 4 inches, and then it fits absolutely perfectly on my tag here. You could have cut it 4 1/4, it would have been fine. And as simple as adding some snail to this designer series paper on the back. That would make a pretty one too. And putting that on my tag. And then using some of this that we've cut to put across the top of this to make an interesting tag. I mean, there's a lot you can do, and I had other paper out on my desk, so I'll show you the other ones that I made. These are using, and I made cards with the bird ballad paper, and I had some little pieces left over, so I just put a couple of tags together using that bird ballad paper, and then I put a few tags together. Do you remember last year we had the black and white washi tape? Well, if you're like me, I always buy the washi tape. And so I started putting this together. This is from See a Silhouette, and this is from an embellishment kit from, I don't even think it was last year. It might have been, well, it was on the clearance rack last year. So I just put a couple of black and vanilla tags together, and then I took out my again, using some things that are retired and some that are not. This was that really pretty corduroy, navy blue corduroy ribbon that we had, and I have a little bit left. And so I put some of the sail away paper, and then I cut the little boats out of another piece of that designer series paper and put a few of these embellishments on it. Another one in the back, some birds, and the two from. And so these now are starting to be packaged so that they don't get damaged. I just cut one of my my card holders in half and put some tape or glue dot on them just to keep them from getting dirty. But I thought I'm never going to get caught without tags again. So I thought I would come on and share that with you today and show you what it was I did to use up the rest of that laser cut paper and some of the designer series paper. Then I had a couple of these pieces left. In fact, I want to cut that down, I think, a little bit. I do. I'm going to go off screen and just cut this one down. There we go. Now that's square again. And I thought that would be kind of pretty put on here. Now you can do some more with, because it's a tag and we want to make sure that things stay on there, I'm going to put lots and lots of snail on this little piece. And because the colors are close enough, yep, I think I'll do it this way. I'm going to set this here and add that. Now it's just a matter of adding a little bit of ribbon to the top, to match any of these colors. And in fact, this ribbon here from would pick up the greens in here. This is the Pretty Peacock ribbon, and a couple of rhinestones or a couple of sequins, and doesn't that make a pretty tag? And so that's all I did with these. I mean, you could make it as simple as just centering something like this, making it a little bit shorter, any number of things that you could do. But I wanted to come back and share with you, on this one I added a little bit of ribbon to half of one of these. So I want to bring these back out so you can see them. In fact, doesn't this make a pretty set? The gift tag and the card using that same paper. And I think that would be a great fun way to package up 2 or 3 or 4 cards with the gift tags that go with them, and that would make a lovely gift. So I'm going to show these cut-aparts here that I made, cards that I made with the cut-aparts. And I'm going to put this one on the end because it's just too hard to see otherwise. So let me put these back out. You get an idea of the cards one could make with this, and then here are the gift tags. And so there is a really interesting set of gift tags and cards perhaps that one could put together and give as a gift set for the holidays. And I will be doing some more with those, and I think they would be great fun to do with some Christmas messages and some Christmas paper. I'm about to start my holiday cards. Well, I promised to stop messing with this now. I got focused on this and I just couldn't stop. I was having so much fun with it. So I wanted to show you what else you can do with that laser paper, especially the cutouts, because we didn't work with that last time. And even taking one of these little ones and cutting it in half and looking what you can do with that on just a simple tag. So there we go. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Or you could join my team. Right now through the end of August is a great deal to join. $165 for $99. You get $155 of that as your starter kit. So you can pay $99 and get $155 worth of product. And then the following month, so in September, you would get a coupon for another $10 towards your first regular order. It's an excellent deal, and I've had several people take advantage of it. I'd love to have you on my team. It would be lovely. We have a wonderful bunch of ladies on my team, and could be a guy too. And so again, that's it for me. Let's see, the prize winner for July was Susan Mumby, and Susan won one of the big bundles out of the catalog. I've got her stuff ordered for her, and it's going to be on its way to her soon. And the prize draw for the month of August is any bundle out of the holiday catalog. So your choice. So there's, and all you have to do to get in my drawing is place an order any size on my website, www.albedinger.stampinup.net. You can get to it through my blog, www.inkandingenuity.com. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye.